Hi George, how are you?
Not too well at the moment. I've got a lot of hearing trouble, been under the underground and all the stress and the traffic because I live in the country and it's very more organic to me than all the perfumes and pollution up here.
Okay,
I'm very sensitive to chemical.
okay, and you've got a very horrific case, haven't you?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about what happened to you, please?
Well, first of all, the organophosphate is a nerve agent which was developed by Saddam Hussein's scientists, used by Adolf Hitler to gas the Kurds with, and they're so successful that they put it in sheep dip to control sheep scab mites. And the sheep scab mites got immune to this dip, so it increased the strength of the dip and it killed off hundreds and hundreds of operators and handlers after the dip had been used.
Okay, and they used this in the farming industry as well, didn't they?
Yeah, we were compelled by law to use this back in the compulsory dipping time to eradicate sheep scab mites. The warnings of the dangers were given in the Zuckerman report in 1950 and also the Health and Safety Executive MS-17 documents. Yet these warnings were ignored when we were told to use these lethal garbage materials.
Okay, so how did it affect you? Tell us your personal ordeal.
And it affected me very much like it affected the Kurds, and also recently how people have been poisoned by organophosphate in Syria. The most successful symptom is death, but luckily I survived and I managed to pull through.
Okay, so you are saying that this is the same chemical that has been recently used in Syria?
Yes.
And it's been used in the United Kingdom?
It still is used in the United Kingdom at the moment. It's used in other products, not so much in sheep dip, but things like fly repellents, and also it was used in fire retardants like mattresses, which cause cot deaths through the babies inhaling the vapour from the treated mattresses.
That's unbelievable. And so they obviously were saying that they were going to go to war with Syria on account of this same chemical.
Yes, yes.
So is that hypocrisy, or what's that about then?
Well, I'm not into wars so much, I'm more into the farming side of it, because when I started campaigning, we investigated and exposed the dangers, yet all these dangers were ignored. My MP at the time was Tom King, who was the Minister of Defence Secretary, and he had no choice other than to support his little cronies in his Parliament. And then I've got now Ian Granger, who is absolutely useless. He will not do a thing to help me. He says makes out he's doing things to help, but no such thing.
Okay, so what's your MP? What's his name?
Ian Lyndall Granger.
Okay, and
or useless Ian Lyndall Granger.
Okay, so where is that? What part of the country do you live?
I farmed on Exmoor all my life, and I live at Watchet on the coast.
Okay, so tell us why you think they poisoned the farms. Was it just your farm, or was it many farmers like yourself whose farms were basically affected by this problem?
When I started campaigning, I called various meetings and various universities did research. There was a huge research done on the victims of the poisoning all over the country, mainly in the sheep farming areas like Cumbria, Wales, Exmoor, a bit of Dartmoor, and they surveyed thousands of people, and a survey was done roughly about 10 years later to see how these people were getting on. And one of the main surveys that came out, which was very, very shocking, that they found that 62% of them had died. Now, with this evidence, I took to my MP in Little Granger, the House of Commons, and Patrick came with me in 1999. And he said, "Sorry, George," he said, "you're wrong." He said, "It's well over 1,000 people who've died of OP poisoning, and there's a government cover-up, and there's a government kept quiet, and as for you, the government wants you to go away and die."
My goodness. So did you bring this issue to the courts?
That is to come.
Okay.
I've had solicitors representing me in the past. These solicitors have represented many people to find out we got nowhere with these cases, and after we investigated these solicitors, we found out that they were put up by the chemical companies to make sure our claims didn't get through, and we were barred on the 3-year time limit.
Okay, so do you have connection with some of the other people who have been affected to instigate a class action, perhaps?
The class action has not been looked at the moment because we've had such a failure on it. I am involved with other people. I do have my profile, which can be Googled. George Wescott, that's Wescott, and then put in 13. So George Wescott 13 brings up my profile. From this, I've been involved with the Gulf War victims, the Portland Down victims, and now recently the pilots who have been poisoned. And we're doing a lot of work at the moment through the pilots who've been poisoned, through Len Lawrence, pilot, who can be Googled as well, just Len Lawrence, pilot. And his
Can you spell that just for people that...
Len Lawrence, Lawrence, pilot.
Okay. Now tell me, I know that you've had issues with your speech and your nervous system has been affected. Can you just tell us a little bit about how you've physically suffered?
When I was poisoned, like I said, I was hospitalised. After a while in hospital, I was sent home to die. I went 14 years before I found anybody private who would look at me and treat me. The NHS refused to do anything for me whatsoever, and still do today. When I found this private person after 14 years, which was from 1988, they found I had an allergy to my own teeth because of my fillings. So they said I had to have my fillings changed before I could be treated. So I had all my fillings changed, which cost me £7,000. And unknown to me, the poisoning, which is organo phosphate, which is a nerve killing agency, and the anaesthetic with a nerve numbing agency clashed in my body and has gone up to my hearing and making me deaf. So that's why I have a hearing problem at the moment. It's not age or anything else or wax, it is the nerve system affected in my head.
Okay. And have you petitioned the Parliament about your case? I mean, are they aware of all the people who have suffered by this phosphate?
The government and the MPs are aware of it, but they're on the scam of the cover-up. Like my MP, we've had Paul Tyler. He's been so-called supportive, but at the end of the day, he's not pulled any punches anywhere at all, or pushed any punches.
Okay. And what has been your overall support mechanisms? I mean, there's your overall support mechanisms.
Once I got so far in my campaigning, I had a lot of victims, which I diagnosed over 200 myself. I had problems with one who was had another illness, but the other, like 200, was backed at me. How I beat the NHS system was the NHS could not diagnose me, so I went to see Dr. Jamal, who did the Kurds. So I saw the Kurdish doctor who diagnosed me with organo phosphate poisoning. This was put on my medical records. Yeah, so this government and the NHS say they know nothing about it, but how come it is classed as an industrial injury, category C3? I cannot get category C3 industrial injury because I was self-employed, and they say self-employed people could insure it. In no way could anybody insure against such a thing.
Okay, that's really, really appalling. I mean, I don't think the wider world is aware that this has even happened, because has it been reported in mainstream papers?
Well, now we've got Syria, for example. It is gone worldwide, and Len Lawrence is doing a lot of publicity worldwide on it. And if you go back to the history of Vietnam and the organophosphate, 40 years on, the birth defect rate is very, very high. The Gulf War victims have had the same. Anybody conceived children after they've had exposure in the Gulf War, birth defects been high. And the same with the sheep farmers. Anybody had conceived after that, they've had birth defects. So birth defects is a long-term thing which goes on for generations. Lucky my children were born before I was taken ill.
Okay, so tell me, What was the motive behind them doing that? You know, was it because they wanted to shut down the farming industries and get rid of the farmers? What was the motive?
I don't say not at the time. Not at the time, no. It was money of the chemical. They had alternatives to control sheep's gut mite, but the organophosphate was the cheapest. And it was readily available, and people were brainwashed that it was safe, which was totally untrue. And a lot of this data could not be found in this country. For example, malathion, which is an organophosphate, which was used for head lice treatment, which obviously everybody heard about over the years. All the family had to have it rubbed in their head. And we got the data sheet on that, which said clearly on the data sheet, malathion, organophosphate, in thick print, warning, avoid skin contact. So how much more? You couldn't make it up.
Okay. But we've seen a rise in companies like Monsanto and, you know, basically the whole commercial industry as far as food is concerned. Tesco's, Sainsbury's, all these big brands have sort of sprung out, and you're getting less and less natural farming.
That's right,
in the UK. It's very difficult to get foods that haven't been treated and sort of with GMOs and whatever. Do you think that at the time your farm was being poisoned and they were using this chemical, that there's any link to, you know, the slowing down of the farming industry in general?
Well, first of all, I cannot eat fruit or vegetable that's been sprayed with organophosphate because it's practically all sprayed. It's like an apple. An apple usually rots from the core outwards, and the spray penetrates the apple so much it goes into the core. So you cannot get thrown away just by peeling the apple. You're eating it all the time, all fruit and vegetable, and I'm very limited on what I eat. This is why I got to grow my own.
So you still farm?
Not at all, no.
You can't farm anymore?
No, I was giving up. I gave up years ago because I was too ill. You cannot farm from a hospital bed.
Of course you can't.
And
where do you get your food though? Because as a farmer, you would know the difference between something that is organic and natural and healthy, opposed to these genetically modified
there is a lot of farmers who
Frankenstein foods.
Yeah, there is a lot of farmers who are aware of the dangers, and they always put the odd bit of ground to one side to grow their own vegetables, or even the odd lamb or whatever it may be. So this still goes on in the country. So even the farmers themselves know that they're selling lambs on which have been treated with lethal chemicals. This chemical was also used prior to the sheep dip as warblefly dressing, which Mark Purdy had a lot to involved in campaigning, and he also took part in the BSE inquiry with Joanna Wheatley, and they were both targeted, and they both went down with brain damage problems, and Joanna Wheatley is very seriously ill, and poor Mark Purdy died of it. So we are targeted.
Yeah, so you're a targeted individual as well.
Yeah. Going back to, you mentioned just now about the chemical companies, Monsanto. Monsanto at the moment is very highly involved in chemtrail spraying. A vital link is Google, what in the world are they spraying?
Yeah,
which is short Google, which explains it in a nutshell. And to pick up my area, you Google David Lim chemtrail, Lim for Lim. And he has got a lot there, which is self-explanatory on the YouTubes.
Okay. Well, it's been really, really insightful to talk to you, because farming in particular is an industry. It's a dying industry. If you speak to the average child and you ask them what they want to do with their life in the average school in the UK, most children will say they want to be a footballer or a pop star or whatever, but they won't ever mention farming. If you were to do a statistical research on that issue, you'll see that something so fundamental as food and farming, what we consume, is not given precedence. It's not given any form of priority. And I think that's part of the mind control behind really in placing all these, supermarkets
Yeah,
where
yeah.
most of us have been brought up with supermarkets. So what would you say to young people who have not really considered becoming a farmer? Is it
It's
a
very
worthy
difficult,
pursuit in today's world?
It's very difficult, really. The best thing to do is keep at it because farms have got so big. Unless you've got a massive amount of money to go into farming, because the best way to become a millionaire in farming today is to start off with 2 million. So, no, there's no future in farming, starting from scratch.
Do you not see that
Unless you inherited, you've got the farm's inherited and you're born on it and it's in your blood, you can cope with it. But to go in it from an outside, it's not on. It's just like me becoming a judge, for example. I wouldn't have a clue, even though we're not what they're like.
Okay, so there's a lot of people advocating to become sustainable, self-sustainable.
Yes.
So do you not see that as a way forward yourself as a farmer who's been
It
poisoned?
is a way forward, but Monsanto's going to have the last sale because they are GMing things so much that there's the seeds are GM that you cannot grow your own seeds. You're going to buy everything through Monsanto, through the certain industry.
Okay.
And this is all controlled by the chemtrail spraying, affects the soil, kills the trees, and now we've got a lot of ash trees or various other trees dying, and they're putting it down to a disease. No such thing as a disease. It's the chemtrail. It's the chemicals.
So what's the solution?
Sorry, my earrings gone.
What is the solution, George?
There's not a solution. What we can do is very much like saying, what is the solution for all these judges? It's a big thing to do and to handle and to sort out. Not one person can do it. It's teamwork.
So would you say that these protests in the UK are vital to highlight the issues of corruption
Very much.
and abuse?
Very much so. But the problem is the media control with D-notices, power of Big Brother, so they're limited, which limits us on our publicity.
Okay.
I've even had a lot of documents put forward that's been turned down because they will not publish it.
Okay.
I've been asked to collect for cancer research a few years ago, and I said no. And I said, because the reasons, I've got nothing against cancer research, what they do help people, but I'm against they do not research what causes cancer.
Yeah.
So I put up evidence to the cancer research, what causes cancer, and they said to me, oh, you know about this? I said, I do. And I said, well, as soon as you said that to me, you know about it as well. And they says, we do. I said, why wouldn't you do something about it? Well, they said, if we did, we would all lose our jobs.
Yeah, and
It's a disgrace.
it's a disgrace. And
And
there
also-
are well-known remedies. There's a very good website, cancerbush.org.uk. And I know other people who supply herbal remedies that can cure cancer. So we know that's a lot of BS right there.
And there's also the Codex plan, which can be Googled. It's a human culling plan in the world, and we are in the human culling plan here in Britain.
Yeah,
And cancer is one of the ways to cull us.
Yes, it's a
We ha-
depopulation agenda 21.
And even when we had our vaccines in our army, we get a little scar. We had various viruses put in that. We had the AIDS virus, cancer viruses, leukemia viruses put in our vaccines.
Yeah,
Deliberately.
Yeah.
We didn't know it not till now recently.
yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to be killed.
yeah, well,
Not
that's
one way
what
or
they.
another. This is why they're not worried about using the organophosphates to hurt us or
Yeah.
damage. And even like with Syria, they're all about collecting the unused chemicals in Syria. What about collecting the chemicals in this country and disposing of them? Collect all the cotton mattresses, dispose of them. Collect all the apples which have been sprayed with it, dispose of them. Give them proper treatment.
Yeah. Well, they don't give a damn, do they? Really?
No,
They want
that's a
to
polite word,
depopulate.
Yeah.
I mean, they can control small amounts of people,
Yeah.
but it's easier to kill masses of people. That's the way they perceive it, and that's what's stated on the Georgia Guidestones. Have you seen the Georgia Guidestones?
No, I haven't.
In Atlanta, Georgia.
But the corruption is not just on this farming, it's throughout, because I've been involved in a lot of police cover-ups where, say, like certain people have murdered prostitutes and the police have stitched up somebody else because they know the murderer. And the murderer's still at large. And we have 2 murders here in London on the streets at the moment. And some of the
there are a
details
lot more
can be
than
found
two.
on...
Two that you know about. I know a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I can say a lot, but this is with evidence.
Yes,
So,
mine
for
is
one
with
evidence, Google suffolkstrangler.com and you'll see for yourself that there's a chap in prison for a long time, and the murder is still on, at least on the streets today.
So what was his name? Suffolk Strangler.
Suffolk Strangler,
Yes.
or www.suffolkstrangler.com.
Okay.
It is on there, and you'll see my correspondence in amongst it.
Okay. Well, thank you
And
so
also,
much.
the gentleman who did this did the Yorkshire Ripper, and Peter Sutcliffe is not the real Yorkshire Ripper. Billy Tracy was the main murderer, and he's still on the streets here of London today.
Wow. Not a lot of people know that.
No, because the media con the public about it. And we met with Ron Warren, who said he was the deputy head of the West Yorkshire Police at the time, and he quoted that there was two killers, and one was this Irishman, Billy Tracy.
Wow. So is that information on the same website you just quoted?
No, it's done by Noel O'Gara under the real Yorkshire Ripper, not the Yorkshire Ripper, the real Yorkshire Ripper.
Okay.
So I'm involved in all sorts of campaigns now, because I went to help them, and they've helped me, like with Patrick coming in with my MP, where he quoted that there's over 1,000 dead from organo phosphate poisoning in the sheep industry in this country, which is a disgrace.
It's
One isn't enough.
disgusting. It's absolutely
If there's
an
one
outrage.
child killed, there's uproar. And the same with three people dying, a few people dying of CJD. There's an uproar. But organo phosphate poisoning, which is the same, hundreds can die. We'll keep it quiet. Just for the sake of Big Brother.
Well, it's very important information that you've been putting out there, George. I really, really, really appreciate that.
Into all this,
You've definitely educated me on some things as well, so I really appreciate that. And I'm sure lots of people out there who will see this footage will appreciate that too. So, are you going to continue the protest? Is that the plan?
oh, definitely. I actually stay with Patrick, and we quite often spend time together in each other's homes, doing work for other people.
Okay.
We work very well together. We work as a team.
Okay.
He's got his qualifications or skills, and I've got my field, which I'm good at.
Okay, so the protest ends today for this session, and when does it start up again, or is it something that
It never stops. Because
Okay.
really, this is only just a little fraction of it, because the internet is the controller and the runner of the campaigning, the internet.
Okay.
That little mouse is the one who controls all this campaigning,
Okay.
and it's the leader.
Wow.
It's the one who goes around the world, is that little click on the mouse.
Yeah, well, I encourage everybody that sees this to get it round the world. It's very important information, particularly about the organophosphate poisoning and chemical poisoning of people in the UK. It's not widely known, and it is a very, very, very serious issue that we have a responsibility and duty to make known to the public. So I really thank you, George.
That's correct.
Thank you. Do you have a website or anything
No, I
that
don't.
people...
I've had an email address which is on my profile.
Okay, do you
which
want
is
to tell...
fairjustice@hotmail.co.uk.
Okay, thanks, George.
And my Wescott is spelt with no T in the middle. So
Okay,
when you Google George Wescott 13, you will see my profile.
okay, thank you, George.
Okay.
Take care.